You got me, I admit it. I actually don't support women's wrongs. I'm a fake feminist.
Happy New Year!
Hey dude, my name's Neptune. I'm a critically acclaimed writer and award-winning director of stage. And usually I mention that so you know what I'm doing when I'm not making YouTube videos. But in this case, it seems relevant to what I'm about to do, because I'm about to tear the film Purple Hearts to shreds and then give my notes on how it could be improved. I do not have beef with anyone involved in this film except for the two writers and also a little bit the director, but we'll get to that. Everyone in this film showed up and did their jobs except for the writers, and I have beef. So why did I watch this film if it's clear that it's not for me? Yeah, I'm currently infected with a disease that is incurable. It's called crush on an actor disease. It's very sad. Please pray for me. I don't know if I'm going to make it through the night. I have had a crush on Galitzine since August, which is too long. September, October, November. That's the danger zone for me. In case you can't tell from the everything about me, I'm autistic and I have a mood disorder. That's correlation, not causation, baby. And the thing is that it's not really safe for me to have a multi-month crush. It's just not safe. Last time this happened, I had a crush on John Oliver for about 4 months that then left me crashing and on a 72-hour hold in the hospital, baby! In which I do remember the morning after being admitted to hospital, I drank some coffee that was so bad that I thought to myself, I should have just killed myself. It's not worth living for this. And when I made that joke to my therapist, she laughed. And if you don't, it's because you're ableist. I can't believe you would be ableist on the internet.com. Babe, can you believe that? This is my spouse, by the way, and this is our child. I haven't actually named any of them, but if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much. So I did watch this film solely for Galitzine. There's no need in pretending that I didn't. There is no need in pretending. I truly want to start a podcast just so I can have this man on. I'm obsessed with him. I keep reading interviews with him because my brain is like, well, we need more of that, right? And then he answers questions in a way that I'm like, I have a million follow-up questions, but I'm not running the interview. So this other interviewer is just like moving on. And I'm like, no, follow up, ask another question. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to invest 1 to 2 to 3 years of my life building up this podcast until such a time as I can have Galitzine on as a guest of this podcast, at which point I will sit there for an hour asking him questions and then going like this, yeah, and you're gonna have to watch it and you're gonna be uncomfortable. And then I'm going to end the podcast because there's no point. There's no point after that. Tick off the list, move on, new project. So I watched this film and I truly could not believe they were serious. They were really serious when they made this film. These people really wrote this film and were like, yeah. And this is the thing. I also hoped that watching Galitzine in a role that I could only describe as a right-wing nutjob would make me find him less attractive, but that did not happen. Truly, I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, swishy little limp-wristed Galitzine, like playing Butch? I loved it. I was like, this is your drag. I love it because he's really that girl. He is acting. He's acting. This boy is acting every single time. He brings it to you every time and you could never, and I don't mean to be rude, but sometimes people that are like that gorgeous and that are actors don't really like bring it because they don't really have to, right? Like people are going to watch the film anyway because they're gorgeous. That's why I'm watching it. But then he's also a really great actor. Like I'm watching and I'm like, yeah. Like as a director, I have no notes. There are a couple of times when his sort of like isms kind of seep through and I'm like, I see you, Nicholas. But mostly he was like in the character. And I was like, truly, I can't see you at all. He's so good. I gotta have him on that podcast that doesn't exist. I just have so many questions. It's like occupying my brain. So the premise of this film, in case you don't know, get ready for this. You have Cassie, who is left-leaning, progressive. She's an aspiring musician. She is the child of an immigrant. She's a Latina woman. And then she decides to get married to Luke, who is like, you know the kind of guys where you meet them and you're like, you just want to get on your knees and f your dad. Like, that's Luke. Also, Luke is an asshole name. Don't name your character Luke. Luke is the male equivalent of Rachel. I don't know what the non-binary equivalent of Rachel is, but if you know what it is, leave it in the comments. And if you leave Neptune, that's pretty funny. That's a good joke. But you have to tell me that you thought of it before I thought of it. Because if you put the non-binary equivalent of Rachel as Neptune, but I've already made that joke, then it's like, it doesn't really, I'm funnier than you. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm in the video and you're not. So the premise is that Cassie marries this like red-blooded American so that she can get health insurance. Cassie has type 1 diabetes. People who have type 1 diabetes need to have insulin regularly, multiple times a day, and they also need to monitor their glucose levels so that they can have the right amount of insulin at different times of the day. And the problem with the American healthcare system is that people who need insulin can't always get it because their health insurance doesn't necessarily cover enough insulin to keep them alive, which is bonk your head behind you. That's what that is. That's bonk your head, for sure. This is like a life-threatening thing, basically, if Cassie isn't having enough insulin. And we find out right away that she's run out of insulin currently, and she goes to get it filled up, but her insurance doesn't cover enough, and then she tries to pay for it out of pocket, and she doesn't have enough money. We also find out that she is working multiple jobs to try and afford her health insurance and her insulin to, just remind you, keep her alive. Just as a reminder, it keeps her alive. It keeps her alive, and also she's dealing with this genetic condition which affects her energy levels, and she's working all these jobs to pay for it. It's not great for her. Like, this is not a good situation. That's the premise of this romance. This is a comedy horror.
Cassie, get out of there, girl!
I'm yelling at the screen because this woman is in imminent, constant danger. So the movie begins, we establish that Cassie is this aspiring singer-songwriter. We establish that Luke is in his training at the military. Luke and the other military guys come into the bar where Cassie bartends. But turns out one of the guys in like Luke's group here is actually someone that Cassie used to babysit. Now this is where it gets dicey, because this man, Frankie, he's black. And I'm not really the person to speak on it necessarily, but I've listened to a lot of other people, black people in America, speaking on this kind of trope of what it is in the US to be like a black man in the military, and the history in the US of exploiting black labor, black bodies, and basically being like, yeah, we don't see you as a full person, but you should still go and serve this country. This is a 20-year-old man, a 20-year-old black man that's like, I'm gonna serve my country. For what, baby? What has your country ever done for you? It's a lot. It's really a lot. In terms of notes on the first meeting, they're trying to establish that Luke is an asshole, which he is. But it's also like, they clearly tried to be a bit softer and gentler with it, but it's like, you're not going far enough in terms of this man not being an asshole. His worldview and stuff make him an asshole. You can't just have him say things softer and less aggressive and less rude and be like, isn't he so nice? No, he's not so nice. And he actually genuinely thinks that if he behaves this way, he will like regain the respect of his dad, which like, baby girl, you do not have to be obsessed with your dad's approval. Just go out and find yourself a dom top. Go and find yourself a new daddy and work that issue out there. Stop. You need to get rid of the concept that you ever need to make your parents proud. You don't. Luke has been brainwashed by this like red-blooded American narrative, and he's obsessed with his dad's approval, and it's really sad. Get a life. And Cassie is someone who is suffering under the US healthcare system. This is not cute. Like, these people are suffering. They're in bad spots. I can't do it. Baby, they're for real. They are for real every second of this movie. And now back to Cassie. And she finds out that, like, spouses of military personnel get free healthcare. This is a dystopian nightmare. It's like, oh, you want your well-being? Want your well-being? Oh, you want your well-being so bad? Don't you want your well-being? Well, all you have to do is marry into the US military-industrial complex. Don't you want to do that? And this is framed as a romance. This is not framed as like an indictment of these concepts, as being like, isn't this harrowing that this is what someone has to do to get medical treatment in the US of A? No, it's like, this is so cute, right? Oh my god. So Cassie goes around to Frankie's house. Luke is there. We find out later this is because Luke is in a lot of debt to a drug dealer. He is an addict. Like, this is the thing, takes one to know one. That takes one to know one. Luke is one of those guys. It's so interesting because I think a lot of people, when they think of an addict, they're really thinking of someone like at rock bottom without any options, who has like used up all of their goodwill and stuff. But a lot of addicts are like very intense, organized, strategic, very like forward-thinking people, because we're so aware that if we let go of the tiniest little bit of control, ooh, baby, it is downhill fast. It is downhill so fast. Also, I did find myself thinking when like Luke popped onto the screen, knowing this was a romance, I was like, I bet he doesn't know how to I bet he doesn't. I bet he lacks the passion required to, to like really But then I remembered he's an addict, so he probably doesn't know how to So those are my 2 cents about that. But also it's like he is displayed to be the most boring cisgendered heterosexual man in the world. So he also doesn't know how to it's like it goes back and forth and back and forth. Does he know how to or not? So Cassie goes round to Frankie's house to propose they do a fake marriage so that she can get health insurance. And Luke is there because he needs someone to stay. He's used up all the goodwill from his family, and we assume this is because he was dealing with his drug issue and other stuff. He owes some drug dealer $15,000. That's also why he's in the US military. Like, this is not a romantic story at all. But he's there, and during the time where Cassie is proposing this idea, Luke is eavesdropping because he's a narc and a dweeb, and an absolute square. Like, get a life, Luke! I can't with this man. He's so unattractive. Which is so weird because he looks just like Nicholas Galitzine. So, interesting. So Luke is eavesdropping and he can't help but butt in and be like, my dad's military police. And it's like, girl, stop. Shush. Halti clapper. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it at all. And Frankie's like, the thing is, we actually can't get married, me and Cassie, because I actually have a girlfriend. And Cassie's like, oh my God, the same one from before. And Frankie's like, yeah, and it's kind of sweet and whatever, right? The thing is, that doesn't have to go down like that. Luke does not need to be there, and he does not need to overhear and then insert himself into the situation. Learn some manners, Luke. Keep your nose out of other people's business. Especially when he is staying in someone's house. You are a guest in someone else's house, Luke. Do not butt into their conversations. And also, Cassie and Frankie have a relationship that existed before you were in the picture. So you are not involved in this. Like, who is this man? He just butts in. Like, get a life. I'm so serious. So you could change this by just having him overhear the conversation and then he walks away. And then after Cassie leaves, he says to Frankie, dude, my dad's military police. I gotta advise you not to do this. And then Frankie could be like, the thing is, I'm not gonna do this because I have a girlfriend and you weren't here for that, but now you know that. Because Luke owes this money and we find out that he owes this money, we cut to Luke actually proposing this idea to Cassie anyway. So it's like, Luke, where are your morals? Who are you as a person? So then he does propose this idea and he's like, we gotta be really careful, we gotta do it all right, yada yada, whatever. To be honest, I don't really have any notes on that scene. I get that we're trying to show that Luke is like a wishy-washy guy who's just trying to make it work. And it's like, again, you're just displaying how much the US military-industrial complex exploits people who are in vulnerable situations. This is not romantic. This is dystopian. And then we cut to the day of the wedding, and Luke goes over to Cassie's house, and then we have truly like a 50 Shades of Grey style scene where we have this like token display of defiance by the woman, and the man being like, you gotta do what I say. And the thing is, Cassie is quite a well-written character. She's quite an interesting character. But like, this is a weird display of defiance because she comes out and she's in like a casual outfit, and she's like, what? And it's like, you're smart. You're a smart person. You know you are supposed to be dressed up for this event. You know it's supposed to look real. You know that you have to do this. I'm not saying it's good, but you have to do this in order to receive the life-saving medical treatment that you require. So why would you be like, here I am in my casual clothes? Girl, you're too smart for this. So I would rewrite this scene such that Cassie is just running late or something. And she's just like, yeah, come up, whatever. Because maybe you're guessing what we're about to get. But Luke comes up, and then Cassie changes, and then he catches a glimpse of her back in the mirror. Also, this woman is smoking hot. It's so clear she's smoking hot. I do not need to see her bare back to confirm that she is smoking hot. Like, I just don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. And it's like, we can still have the scene of her coming out in the dress looking gorgeous without seeing her naked back. It's not relevant. It's not relevant to the situation. So I would change this by literally just cutting out that moment. Just have Luke standing there, not catching a glimpse, just standing there, looking off at other things. He could look and see a picture of Cassie with her mother and be like, oh, is this you and your mother? And we could learn a bit more about Cassie. Also, the reason that she doesn't like military guys is because her mother dated a string of guys from the base and they all treated her poorly. There are so many other reasons not to like people in the US military.
Cassie!
God, I'm gonna get you out of there, girl. I swear I'm gonna get you out of there. Oh my God. Then we go and we have the wedding. Frankie is the witness. And also, the endlessly generous Frankie decides to give his ring that he is saving for his girlfriend, that he's been saving up money since he enlisted to buy. He gives this ring to Cassie and Luke. Babe, I need the strength to keep going. I don't have it in me. So Frankie gives the ring, they have the wedding ceremony, and this is like Luke and Cassie's first kiss, and I guess it's kind of sweet. I don't know. I don't really care. This video is sponsored by me. I have a couple of projects on at the moment. I have my play, Long Drive Together, my solo comedy, Being a Woman for Money, and my novella collection, Queer Summer Trilogy. Ooh! The play, Long Drive Together, is about intersectional friendship, moving through grief, and a queer Saturn's return. It is two friends on a road trip to visit their mutual friend's grave on the 15-year anniversary of her death by suicide. And finally, on this road trip, after all these years, they're able to actually talk about what it was to have lost this person. And it's also got jokes and some dancing. Me coming from a comedy background, I definitely want to make sure that I have a nice balance of light and dark, especially when I'm tackling more difficult subjects. So that's Long Drive Together. There's some 2024 upcoming dates that I can't talk about just yet, but latest updates always on my website, neptunehenriksen.com. Being a Woman for Money is my return to solo comedy after 7 long years. It is a look at gender desirability and capitalism through a queer lens. It is an absurdist concept show for the weirdos and the curious. We're talking high energy, high physicality, very silly, and really tackling some difficult subjects with grace and humor, as I am known to do. And again, upcoming 2024 dates. Stay tuned on my website for latest updates, neptunehenriksen.com. Then we have Queer Summer Trilogy. It is 3 novellas about queer romance written by me, a queer author. Hello! We have Where the Pink Meets the Blue, a bisexual erotica, Under a Summer Sky in January, a sapphic teen love triangle, We Used to Hold Hands All the Time, a love story of childhood friends reunited. Available to purchase now. They're self-published, but they're on all of the major websites, and you can buy them from smaller bookshops as well. All the information's on my website. There's a free sample for all of them. There's the playlists that I made for each novella and also for each character, free wallpapers, content notes, anything that you might be curious about. It's all there to check out, neptunehenriksen.com. Those are my current projects. Back to the video. So we cut to the military guys and the spouses at this dinner, and then this guy who was also antagonistic before is again antagonistic, and Cassie is like, she like scoffs or something, and then he's like, oh, what do you want to say? Also, just for the record, that guy is also black. So we have a nice black guy and a mean black guy, and that's diversity, kids. That's how you do it. That guy is truly only there as a plot device to be someone who is antagonizing Cassie and getting her to basically say her beliefs, because we can't show them. Except they do show them, because we get a shot of Cassie's apartment in which she has a rainbow flag and a Black Lives Matter flag, like, on her balcony. So we do know her beliefs. You don't have to have a character say things all the time in a movie. Like, if you're saying their feelings, then yeah, maybe they do want to have a confession of love, sure. But you don't have to have them say their beliefs. You could show that. Because it is a film. And generally you want to show, don't tell. Just so you know for next time. Luke and Cassie go outside to like talk it out. And then someone says, wow, those two run hot. The straight people are not okay. The heterosexual propaganda that it's actually healthy to be in a relationship in which you yell and scream at each other regularly, that is a sign of passion, that means that you're into each other. Shouting is a sign of emotional immaturity. As an adult, you should be able to communicate your feelings without yelling, throwing things, becoming physically violent. That should not be your go-to. That is just an adult throwing a hissy fit. If I'm with someone, my spouse, for example, I want to get to know them, and I want to make sure that I'm not doing things that will upset them or our child, because I want us to be a happy family. And being a happy family is not denying feelings, pushing under the rug, saying you need to get over it. It is acknowledging the discomfort in the fact that sometimes we do hurt people's feelings. And the adult thing to do is to talk it out, to allow space, to learn, to grow, to do better next time. It's like this movie was written for teenagers to watch and like romanticize, but everyone in it is an adult. Like, I can't believe this is, how is this attractive to people? Yelling and screaming, his friends purposely antagonize you. Why would you ever want this for yourself? Like, oh my God, there are better options out there. Keep in mind, she's doing this so she can get life-saving medical treatment. So upset. I'm so upset. Why am I doing this? So they're having some kind of argument, whatever, and then Luke's like, the people are watching us inside, so just come here, and he pulls her into a hug. To be fair, it's a fairly respectful thing. He's not being that forceful. He's being fairly gentle, and he's like trying to talk her through, like, okay, they're still watching. Keep holding me. Okay, that's fine. I think we can pull apart now. And it's not like violent or forceful. I'll give them that. But the bar is truly on the floor. And routinely, the men in this piece of fiction are getting a shovel and so they can get under the bar. Then we cut to, like, they're in the honeymoon suite, and Luke is like, I asked for 2 beds, which, like, this is the thing. I'm a queer person. I'm attracted to lots of people, all right? I've shared beds with people many times. I've never been like, we should be getting it on right now, just because we're laying together. That's not a thing. If you want to get it on with someone because you're in the same bed, you always wanted to get it on with them. But this is probably some kind of heterosexual thing where he's like, I'm respecting you by getting 2 beds. But I don't know, because I'm not the target demographic for this thing. So then they're having this discussion, and she's like, just admit you're scared. And he's like, I am scared. And it's like, yeah, no duh, you're scared, Luke. So then she goes and sits with him, and then they start kissing. They start kissing, and then they have sex. This was me watching that scene.
No, make it stop, no.
To be fair, most of the time when I watch straight scenes, I am pretty appalled. I don't want to see it. I don't think that our children should be exposed to things like that. It gives them an unhealthy idea of the kind of lifestyles they should lead. I need you to remember that these people don't know each other. They've spent a couple of days together. They're married for health insurance and because Luke has a debt. By the way, he did not tell Cassie that he has a 15 grand debt to a drug dealer. They're married! And he didn't tell her that. I understand that I'm autistic and I'm honest out of the hard wiring of my brain. And not everyone has that hard wiring, and that's fair enough. However, I do think that if you're going to marry someone, even if it's for benefits, you should tell them if you're 15 grand in debt and they've already told you that their mother is the only family they have, and you know that this drug dealer has threatened your family and could potentially, I don't know, threaten your wife's family, I think you should tell her that you're in debt to someone who is dangerous. Luke. But of course he doesn't, because this is a coward. Like, you need to understand how much this man is a coward. I can't do it, babe. I can't do it. So, the couple is in a hotel room. This is a very, close-up of hands, smoke and mirrors type love scene. Which, whatever, right? Whatever. That's fine. Sure. So what we get is we get some kissing, we get some undoing of the clothes, and then we get, I can't believe this really happened. And then we get a shot that's like the shoulders up, just kissing, him on top, and like no thrusting or anything. So I don't know what I'm supposed to deduce is happening, but also like no implied oral or anything. Like is this what right-wing people are like? Is this how right-wing people, is this how they do it? I know that they're very obsessed with the P and V. I know that's like their thing, but I'm like, we're not even going to imply that he's going down on her. So she's like aroused enough. Nothing. Like, how is she supposed to get off? She just doesn't? Like, what is this? It's just yuck. What am I looking at? Am I supposed to find this hot just because they're both good-looking people? No, I want more than that. I want them to care about each other. I want to see that he is showing something that she finds attractive and that he is like respecting her as an entire human and stuff. Wow, over here with the left-wing propaganda that I want a male partner to view his female partner as an entire person and care about her well-being, her comfort, her pleasure. So the way I would improve that is that I would have just implying it's going down on her, there's digital stimulation, there's something to show that like he's making sure she gets off. Because this is for women. So what? And I would also improve this by having it a bit more clear as to why she's doing this. Is it something where she's seeing this vulnerability in him and then she's like, oh, he's actually attractive now? Or is this truly something that she's doing as like a favor that she ends up enjoying? In which case, show me that journey. Confirm that for me. Because I don't know what I'm looking at. The thing is, I am not against without feelings, but this is a romance. So the feelings are part of it. And the thing is, enemies to lovers when it's straight is just a crime. Men already yell at women for no reason. So why are you like taking that and you're like, it's romantic actually? No, it isn't. Most of the time when a man raises his voice at a woman, it's because he feels that he is not being obeyed. He feels that he is entitled to submission from this person. He feels that he is above this person. And he feels that if he yells, this person will submit to his whim. And that's bad. So let's not take that and then put that in a romantic context. Because, like, who's watching this, right? Like, young women. And they're going to think this is good. They're going to think this is something that they should want for in their own relationships.
I want to clarify that I'm not trying to like dunk on women or insinuate that women are not smart or that anyone who enjoyed this film like has bad taste or is a bad person or is not smart at all. What I'm really saying is that I feel like this film exists in like a particular middle ground where it isn't quite a good enough depiction to be aspirational and it isn't quite a bad enough depiction to be like a dark romance. And I worry that it exists in a space where you could be like, yeah, well, Luke is never really that forceful. He's never really that bad. He's never really that violent. And I worry that that makes it seem as though this behavior is okay. And what I'm concerned about is it's one thing to watch something, to enjoy it as a piece of media and say that was a fun journey. And it's another thing to be someone who is a bit younger, maybe romantically inexperienced, and is seeing romance on screen and enjoying seeing it on screen and thinking, that's what my romantic life should look like.
The next day, he gets deployed, and then we have this montage of the two of them writing emails back and forth because they have to make it look like they are really in a marriage. It's like they're dating through email, which I guess that's cute for someone. I felt the montages were really well directed and they looked really gorgeous. The voiceover was really nice and sweet. Like, I have no issue. I have no issue with that, really. Then they're having a video call, and Cassie mentioned she's working on a song, and then everyone wants to hear it next time. And the next time rolls around, and they've had a hard day. So they've had a difficult day executing the whim of the US military-industrial complex, probably bombing innocent civilians. Hard day, and so Cassie performs her song for them, and we get to see all these people showing a bit of humanity, being moved by this song. I don't buy it, obviously, and I do support veterans in general. I do not think that people should be used and spat out by any military at all. I think they should be taken care of, and they should get the help that they need to deal with whatever it is that they have seen and experienced while being deployed. I also just don't believe in war, though. So I don't believe that you should be trying to say, like, oh, these people are having a hard time and they have this moment which like allows them a bit of respite. They shouldn't be having a hard time because there shouldn't be war in the first place. We gotta stop. We gotta shut it down. And then, because Cassie doesn't have to work all her other jobs to pay for, her life-saving medical treatment, she's able to dedicate more time to the band, and she's able to write these more personal songs. Because she couldn't write personal songs before. She hadn't met Luke. So her life hadn't begun. Her life had no reason, no meaning, no purpose. What are you talking about? She didn't have a man in her life, so her life was actually meaningless. And there's nothing real that she could have drawn from before having met Luke. No. It wasn't as though she had grown up as a child of an immigrant, being the perpetual outsider in the world. No, it's not as though she had this situation of all these men coming and going and letting her mother down consistently. No, it's not as though she was working so hard, all these jobs, just to pay for medicine that she needs to live, that she could have drawn on that experience. No. It was only once she met Luke and she was emailing this person and she was thinking about how he's all the way over there and how she wants him to make it back safely that she was able to finally write something real. Things are really picking up for Cassie and her band, and then Luke is involved in a situation, and then he is airlifted back to the US. And in the meantime, Cassie has to find Luke's brother, and then she looks up Jake Morrow, she goes over there. That's Luke's dad's name as well. Just in case we needed more confirmation of like how messed up this family is, and what kind of messages Luke has learnt about like masculinity, because like something about cis-het men is they are obsessed with their weird, like, breeding kink and their weird, like, naming their kid after themselves and, like, being so hard for their dad. You can be your own person. You can make your own legacy. You don't have to be so attached to your dad. Like, it's weird. Step back and actually look at it. It's strange. Go and work this out with a dom top and stop making it some poor woman's problem. Like, what? Oh my god, it's so weird and so sad. Gender will mess you up, baby. It is really weird. Oh my goodness. Luke's dad and brother have the same name. So she goes over there and she's like, Luke's been wounded in action. I'm his wife, by the way. And then they all go and visit him in the hospital. Then she's talking to Luke in the hospital. Turns out that off screen, Frankie has been killed. A completely unearned emotional beat. So this is like a big note and a big rewrite, but Frankie doesn't have to die. All that happens is 2 scenes that are linked to Frankie dying. Because what happens is the next scene is his funeral. Cassie is like, oh, this is the ring that Frankie gave me, and he was gonna marry you with this ring. So you should have this ring, to the girlfriend, right? So you should have this ring. And she takes it and she's like, oh my god, I love it, da da da. And then later there's a scene where Luke goes and visits Frankie's grave and is like, I think Cassie is my only friend. Also, this isn't even a horror movie and the black guy still gets killed. What are we doing at this point, babe? What are we doing? Stop killing black characters for no reason. He literally just existed to help out Luke and Cassie. That's all he did. That was his whole purpose. And he was also black, so it's like, that just really says a lot. There's a trope that I can't remember the name of. I think it's like the magical Negro or something. And it's this trope that's like this wise black person who like helps out the white main character. I can't do this. Frankie's death does not serve the plot in the way you think it does. He could be wounded in action. Cassie could still give the ring back to his girlfriend. He could propose to the girlfriend. He could be doing the rehabilitation with Luke and they could become close friends. And then Luke could be like, you know, I think it's just you and Cassie who are the only friends I have.
Why does he die? He doesn't have to die! Ah!
I can't do this, babe. Release me. The rest of the movie is basically just Cassie going from strength to strength with her music career, and it's Luke going through rehab because his leg is mangled. There is a scene which truly sickens me to my stomach in which Cassie is bathing him. No more scenes of a woman bathing a man. And it's like, the thing is, there are people with disabled partners and they do bathe their partners. And there can be intimacy in that. That can be a beautiful thing. But this being framed as like, oh, there's this like big macho dude. And then here he is so vulnerable. I know what they're doing with it. I know that they're not saying disability rights when they're doing this. We do get to see a shot of his mangled leg. And it is very well done. It's very well done. As a fan of gore, oh, that was so good, baby. Oh, loved it. 10 out of 10 for the mangled leg. And Luke is also living at Cassie's house and truly just like she's taking care of him in a lot of ways. And it's like, that's fair enough. They have to keep this up for the thing. And also some people do need care like that. It isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like the way it's been displayed is like, he's like actually so nice because he's just a little puppy. And it's like, ugh. And there's a point where he does help Cassie when she's having this like low sugar moment and he goes and gets some glucose for her. And it's like, yeah, you should do that. You should do that. As the only other human being in this apartment, you should like help her to the couch and then get some glucose. Because what's happening is we're seeing Cassie care for this man for quite some time, and then he does one nice thing in return, and it's as though, well, that's perfect. That's actually a brilliant, even split of things. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's not like we should be keeping count. But at the same time, this is not what you think it is. By the way, the drug dealer breaks into Cassie's mum's house and scares this poor woman. And then Luke goes around there and he's a big tough guy. So even though he still has his cane and his bad leg, he like goes in ready to sort out the situation. And also, I had been listening to 1989 Taylor's version. So when this like suspenseful scene of this man like going through this dark house came on, all I could think of was, welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Also, obviously, we have a scene of him being like, I'm not some cripple. It's so much. Just get rid of this man. Get rid of him. Start again. Start again. Delete him and start again. Like, absolutely not. That's the thing. The performance is so good that I'm angry. Like, I'm angry at this man because the performance is so convincing and so good and I think he's real and I'm angry. So the drug dealer breaks into the mum's house and then Luke pays him back and threatens the drug dealer. And then the drug dealer turns Luke and Cassie over to the military police. I forgot to say this. There is a moment where Luke actually genuinely, this is not a joke, he says, well, that's fake news, in response to something. And he's for real. Babe, they're not even joking. They're not even joking in this movie. They're for real in this movie. They're actually for real. So then Luke goes to his like hearing at the military police and he's like, I want to make a statement. And he's like, this was all my idea. Miss Salazar didn't actually know it was illegal and it was all my idea. Because like Cassie's musical career is on an absolute trajectory. It's like going all the way up. Like this is incredible for her. She is making leaps and bounds. And so he takes the fall, which he should. Because get into this. Do you want to know how long he gets sentenced to prison for this crime? 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. Mr. Oh, you can't defraud the American government. Defrauds the American government and then gets sentenced to 6 months. I hate this movie. There are black men in America serving 30 years for possession of marijuana, but sure. Let's absolutely praise this man for taking the fall for his idea and also lying to Cassie before they got married about this 15 grand of debt, endangering Cassie's mother. You should take the fall. You should. It's your fault. And then he gets sentenced to 6 months. I hate it here. It's like, oh, it's so heroic. Cassie can't believe it. Oh my goodness. It's 6 months. It's gonna go by like that. You are about to go on tour. You have a record deal. You're gonna be busy. And also, this man wasn't even doing anything. He's just recovering from like a very bad situation, but he's just recovering physically and hopefully emotionally at some point from this injury. He might as well just be in prison. Like, I'm just saying, what else is he doing? What, was he gonna write his novel? What, was he gonna go on tour with her? Like, it's 6 months. You're gonna be good. So then Cassie is having this big performance in which her band is opening for Florence and the Machine. And then right after the performance, she leaves. Also, she still has her crappy car from before. So where is any of this money that she's making, having these leaps and bounds in her career? So she gets in this car and she like drives, and Luke is being taken away for his time, for his 6 month sentence. Rolls up and she sees Luke. And she's like, as far as I'm concerned, this is the realest thing that's ever happened to me. This is a real marriage. And obviously he's still going to military prison. Again, only for 6 months. They have this love confession moment and they have a big sexy kiss. And then he gets in the military car and he's driven away and she puts her hands on the wire fence and she watches him. And that's the end of the movie. So my notes for that last bit is honestly, don't frame Luke's confession as some kind of huge heroic sacrifice, because it isn't. During the credits, we are treated to a montage of Cassie and Luke at the beach, presumably post his prison sentence. They're with the therapy dog that Luke had for his injury. It happened earlier, it's not relevant. So it's this golden retriever dog. It's Cassie in all white. It's Luke in white and like khaki beige trousers. And they're like running around on the beach. This is serious. This is a real movie. This is not a 2-hour SNL sketch. And I'm supposed to believe the stakes and the story and the romance. And I'm supposed to be sad that Frankie died, but also see that it was necessary. He needed to die for the plot, actually. And I actually love watching fictional black men suffer and die. And I love watching their fictional black families just fall to pieces around for like 2 seconds of screen time and then get back to the non-black people in the story. I have no issues with like a during the credits scene of, oh, here they are together. They ended up together. It's a romance, whatever. But there's just something about the white clothes, the golden retriever dog, the beach, the sand. It makes me feel, you know how in dystopian movies they'll be like, and this is your dream life. It's like eerily sweet and eerily beautiful, quote unquote. But it's truly the result of like so many people suffering. It's not cute and pure to me. It brings out something that makes me very concerned. I'm wondering who is dying for this fantasy. Frankie had to die. Yeah, I should have known. That's that. That's my 13th reason. I am truly fighting for my life not to walk in front of a train right now. For legal reasons, that's a joke. And if you want me to do this for other movies, then let me know. And if you made it all the way to the end, I guess leave a purple heart emoji. Because of the movie. Because it's purple hearts. I wouldn't recommend you watch this movie at all. Maybe watch it with a friend and you can like laugh and joke during it. But I watched it by myself and I'm the picture of mental wellness. That's it. Thank you for watching. Hadebra! So the thing is, babe, that at this point, there's going to be like the end of the video, and people might still be watching because they might be like, oh, is something else going to happen? But nothing else is going to happen because it is the end of the video. So I don't know why they're still watching, but I think they probably are still there. Maybe they're there. Are you still there? Why are you still there? Leave me alone. I'm talking to my spouse and child. Weirdo.